There's something about getting older that no one really prepares you for. Not the wrinkles, not the gray hairs, not even the changes in your body. It's the quiet release, the release of comparison. Somewhere along the way, you start noticing that you don't want to compete anymore. You don't want to measure your life against someone else's timeline. You don't want to rush your becoming. Aging isn't just about time passing, it's about shedding. Tonight we're going to sit with that. Aging as a letting go, aging as a softening, aging as the moment you stop asking, am I ahead or behind? And start asking, am I at peace? Let's begin. Comparison is loud when you are young. It lives in mirrors, in social media feeds, in the subtle competition between friends, in the quiet panic of falling behind. In your 20s, comparison feels urgent, like a clock ticking in the background. Who has the better body, the better relationship, the better career, the better house, the better story? It feels like you're constantly being evaluated, even when no one is looking. But aging does something unexpected. It begins to reveal how exhausting comparison really is. You start to notice how much of your anxiety came from measuring, how much of your insecurity came from invisible scorecards, how much of your stress came from timelines that weren't even yours. There's a quiet grief in realizing how much energy you gave. Energy trying to be impressive. Energy trying to be desirable. Energy trying to be on time. Aging slowly removes the illusion that there was ever a race. One of the cruelest lies comparison tells us is that life has a universal schedule. By 25, you should be. By 30, you must. By 35, you better have. But who created that calendar? Who decided that growth has a deadline? Who decided that healing should be complete by a certain age? Who decided that motherhood, marriage, success, stability must arrive in a particular order? Aging exposes this lie. You begin to see people who had it all lose it all. People who were late bloomers thrive. People who rushed crumble. People who move slowly build something lasting. There is no synchronized clock. There is only unfolding. And unfolding cannot be rushed. There is a moment, often subtle, when you look in the mirror and instead of criticizing, you begin observing. The softness under your eyes, the lines that didn't used to be there, the way your body tells the story of survival. At first, aging can feel like loss. Loss of youth, loss of elasticity, loss of being the pretty one, loss of being chosen first. But then something shifts. You realize youth was never security, it was attention. And attention is not the same as peace. Aging replaces the hunger for attention with the desire for authenticity. You no longer want to be the most admired, you want to be the most aligned. That is different. There is something sacred about no longer wanting to compete with other women. Not because you couldn't, but because you don't want to. You start to see their beauty without subtracting from your own. You start to see their success without shrinking yourself. You start to understand that admiration and comparison are not the same thing. Comparison says, if she has it, I lack it. Wisdom says, there is room. Aging teaches you that the world is not a narrow hallway. It is an open field. And an open field does not require elbowing. Time does something that no self-help book can. It humbles you, and then it steadies you. You've seen things fall apart. You've seen things come together. You've survived versions of yourself you thought would break you. There is confidence in survival, not loud confidence, not flashy confidence, but the kind that sits quietly and says, I've been through worse. That kind of confidence doesn't need to compare. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It knows its weight. Every time you open your phone, you are confronted with youth. Filtered skin, new beginnings, engagement rings, pregnancy announcements, career milestones, perfect lighting, perfect angles, perfect timing. It can feel like everyone else is peaking while you are standing still. Social media compresses time. It stacks everyone's highlights into a single scrolling moment. And when you scroll long enough, it starts to feel like a scoreboard. But here is what aging teaches you. A highlight is not a life. A curated moment is not a full existence. And a filtered face is not peace. When you are younger, comparison on social media feels personal. You measure her body, her marriage, her followers, her success, her glow. You ask silently, what did she do right that I didn't? But aging shifts that question. Instead of asking, what am I missing? You begin asking, what is this costing me? The cost of constant comparison is disconnection from your own peace. It is forgetting your own context. It is measuring your behind the scenes against someone else's production. And the older you get, the more you realize that chasing someone else's timeline creates a life that doesn't fit. There is a strange and quiet freedom that comes with no longer being the center of attention. Social media glorifies visibility. It rewards youth. It amplifies novelty. But aging begins to detach you from the need to be constantly seen. You start valuing privacy over performance. You start appreciating intimacy over applause. You start protecting your peace instead of advertising your progress. Invisibility, when chosen, is power. It allows you to build quietly, to heal quietly, to grow roots instead of followers. And roots last longer than trends. Social media convinces us that life should look like a checklist: house, partner, body, trips, career, glow up. But aging reveals something gentler. Life is not linear, it's cyclical. There are seasons of blooming, seasons of pruning, seasons of waiting, seasons of building. A woman in her 30s or 40s may look behind online and yet be deeper emotionally than she's ever been. She may not have the curated milestones, but she has self-awareness. And self-awareness does not photograph well, but it sustains. There is a rebellion in aging. Not loud rebellion, not destructive rebellion, but quiet refusal. Refusal to rush, refusal to compete, refusal to measure your worth by digital applause. Aging allows you to say, I do not need to prove that I am thriving. I need to know that I am grounded. That is not something social media can validate. It is something you feel in your body, in your breathing, in your boundaries, in your standards. At some point, the performance becomes tiring. The constant documentation, the constant posting, the constant updating. You begin to ask, who am I when no one is watching? Aging invites that question. It strips away the urgency to be perceived correctly and replaces it with the desire to be internally steady. There is power in logging off. There is power in not explaining yourself. There is power in growing in rooms where no cameras exist. Eventually, if you allow it, aging becomes a return. A return to your own rhythm. A return to your own standards. A return to the woman you were before comparison became constant. You begin to notice you don't want to look younger. You want to feel lighter. You don't want to compete with 20-year-olds. You want to rest in your own maturity. You don't want to chase relevance. You want to cultivate meaning. And meaning is not loud. It is steady.